Our country, just like Russia and Ukraine and other countries, has oligarchs, and they don't care about your well-being. And when they swindle your mind and get you caught up into caring about sending violent weapons on one side of a civil war, they're just doing their same old lying garbage that they've been doing to you for decades and decades. In Iraq, they were making you pick a side between Sunni and Shiite Muslims and telling you they were doing it because of 9/11, okay? So when you hear them lying to you now saying we got to pick a side, they don't tell you, I mean, think about how stupid this is. It is an objective fact that for years, the Western factions in Ukraine had engaged in killing civilians in the Russian-speaking Russian side of Ukraine. And it went both ways. You see what I mean? But you can't get any hack garbage outlet like CNN or NBC or ABC or CBS to report on that. They want you to believe. This is how dumb these people are and how dumb they think we are. They want you to believe that the only time a citizen or a civilian has been killed, it has been the Russian people killing, the Russian soldiers killing Ukrainians, right? They don't want to tell you that it happened on the other side too, that Ukrainians were killing Russian citizens who didn't want to be ruled by people who were openly embracing Nazi heroes. And our government knows that, but they're run by oligarchs, and there's too much money to be made by all this chaos. And the money can be made through money exchanges. It can be made through shorting stocks, investing in broken down countries, or, all kinds of gimmicks that the elitists do, right? And so when they try to bait you emotionally to pick a side, there are people being killed, civilians that have been killed on both sides of this conflict. The Ukrainian government has killed innocent civilians and has done ugly, disgusting things, and the Russian government has too, right? And by getting you to pick a side, that's just helping them sell their, special interest agenda easier. Especially because they get you to forget about all the abusive things that have been done to you in your own country and are being done to you. McCain was one of those guys that was over there in the Euromaidan 2014 uprising. He was over there involved with that for a long time. Jack Posobiec says, same guys who were training moderate rebels in Syria were training paramilitary groups in Ukraine. Probably just a coincidence, right? So you see how this works? Remember, we were told we had to back these moderate rebels in Syria, and it turned out they were Al-Qaeda, many of them, and Al-Nusra. But they didn't matter, right? They showed you pictures. They did the same thing. That's why I'm so sick and tired of this gimmick, is that they do the same song and dance over and over again. They weaponize the suffering of children to cause more suffering of children. It's disgusting. And they pillage your economy in the meantime. They weaponize you are a decent person. You look at pictures of children in hospitals, you say, darn it, Putin, destroy him, right? They don't show you the photos of the baby the other week who was killed by the Ukrainian government. If they had presented that photo and said, Zelensky did it, get up, they do that over and over again, and every garbage fake news outlet does that over and over again, they'd get you whipped up doing that too. Or at least a certain percentage of the population whipped up into this, right? This is lights, camera, action, and it's disgusting because you are using real flesh and blood suffering to create more of it. They did this with Syria, and just like they're saying now, well, they're just slightly Nazis, some of the battalions in Ukraine. They're not truly Nazis, they're just gentle Nazis. They're not that bad, yeah. They did the same thing with Syria. Oh, those are not terrorists, they're just Al-Qaeda light. And then they did the gassing thing. There's probably going to be an incident like that. You can probably bet on that at this point. They're going to do some kind of gassing thing and say that Russia just decided to do the same thing that Assad did. Turns out when we looked at that story, when investigators looked at that story, it looked like that was not done by Assad, right? But you don't hear that reported on your garbage fake media outlets like ABC, CBS, CNN. They're making too much money for their oligarchic interests. Our economy is based on war making and providing the means of war for countries around the world. That's how sick it's become. Like our economy, our artificial sense of wealth is predicated on perpetuating the slaughter of human beings in never-ending conflicts. How far have we lost our way from our Christian roots as a country when such a diabolical industry is at the core of what we need to have to experience our artificial level of comfort and wealth? Now, we could have had a foundation of true solid wealth with savings and free markets and capital and productivity and private property and sound money. We could have all of that. And we could be more prosperous than we could possibly even conceive of at this moment. But instead, we've traded it for a shortcut to heaven that leads to hell. We traded it for empire. We traded it for a cold bit of seed oil sludge porridge in the form of becoming a military-dependent economy. So whenever there's a conflict that we can send tons and tons of weapons, that's good for the corrupt corporatist economy we have. We're not making stuff. We should be building stuff. We should be making things, making engines, making batteries, manufacturing stuff, producing new forms of modernizing local agriculture to get high-quality nutrition to our communities. Instead of shipping in beef from Australia or Argentina, we should be learning how to innovate to get our economy providing food locally without using pesticides and fertilizers from far-off industries and markets around the world, see? We have to totally rethink what it means to be America in this time. Get back to what the founders intended and do better than even they imagined we could do. So far, we're making a mockery of the founders, an absolute disgraceful mockery of everything they intended our republic to be. So don't ever let them blame you for being a traitor to America. They have betrayed America's first, the founding of our nation. They have betrayed the legacy, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. They've betrayed any concept of a free and fair republic and democracy. They've betrayed all of that by constantly weaponizing your emotions to swindle your money through the printing of new credit and then sending it off to oligarchs and to blow up munitions and so forth around the world. And they don't tell you, wait a second, this is a complicated thing where there's good and bad on both sides, and we're going to come in there and broker peace just because it's good and right and good to do. No, they can't do that to save themselves. They have to constantly sell weapons and push guns and push blow-ups and explosions and drones, and they have to constantly sanction and constantly swindle you because that's the only thing people of a reprobate mind can do. They just dig in deeper into their muck, and they'll bring everybody down with them as long as we continue to tether our economy to the whims and edicts of D.C. The lawless anarchists running D.C. who do not know what it means to produce long-term wealth, long-term value, good education, nonviolence, peace, friendship with all. We should be trading and traveling with these countries, not going into constant conflict with them. We should be picking which dictator runs which block of the community around different regions of the world. We should be a good example of what real decentralized power and liberty can look like. We used to be that a long time ago. We've lost that. And now the world imitates us in that hypocrisy.